Okay, hello. We're going to talk about evaluating expressions, or what's commonly called is order of operations. First of all, you need to know the PEMDAS. Some of you have maybe heard that in previous classes, but P stands for, down here, parentheses. E stands for exponents. M stands for multiplication. D stands for division, addition, and subtraction for A and S. So that's just a way to remember it. Some of you guys maybe have heard, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Again, that's just a way to remember the letters. Let's talk about parentheses first. Parentheses is one chunk. That's the first thing you need to do. You do innermost parentheses first, then work outwards while using PEMDAS. Also, when a fraction bar is present, treat your numerator and denominator as separate sets to evaluate. So an example would be you have this smaller set of parentheses inside a larger set of parentheses, and I would need to do this part first while using PEMDAS, then work my way out, then do the top and bottom, then go ahead and divide top and bottom. Then I would do my exponents in my problem, which again, an exponent refers only to the number right before it, unless parentheses are used to indicate otherwise. For instance, this is not negative 5 squared, meaning negative 5 times negative 5. It's actually 5 squared, which is 25, and then slap the negative on it, which would make it negative 25. This here, however, negative 5 in parentheses squared, that refers to the number right in front of that, refers to negative 5 times negative 5, which is actually positive 25. Now, looking on down to the multiplication and division step, multiplication and division go together. This is the third step. It's not the third and the fourth, it's actually the third step. You work your way from left to right. So if I see a division symbol, a multiplication, it doesn't matter even if multiplication is listed first, it's whichever of these two comes first from left to right. So I would go ahead and do the 8 divided by 4, and then 4 times 2, and so on and so forth. The same is true with the addition-subtraction grouping. If you have a minus first instead of a plus, you do that one first. If you have a plus on the left and a minus on the right, then you would do the minus. So now let's get into some practical examples after just hearing a little bit about it. And I need to go over to my smart notebook. Okay, what we have here is example 1. We see 12 minus quantity 4 minus 6 squared, all divided by 6 plus 4 squared divided by 2 squared. So what I want you to notice is the highlighted portion that I highlighted there. And what I need to go ahead and do is realize that that is my starting problem. What I need to do is simplify the expression by leaving the rest alone and just dropping it down. But 4 minus 6 is now negative 2. Leave it in parentheses for the moment and write everything else down, and I drop it down. That's doing my parentheses first. Now, I don't have anything else in parentheses that needs an operation done. I just see negative 2, but there's no operation. The squared will be my exponent step. So let's go ahead and do, by the way, you should always write P, E, M, D, A, and S for every problem if you can, and just go through a checklist. I already did parentheses, now I'm working on exponents. So if I work on exponents, I do 12 minus negative 2 squared is then 4. You don't have to write the parentheses, but it just kind of shows you what's there. So I have 6 plus 4 squared on the bottom is 16, and then 2 squared on the bottom is 4. As you can see, I'm starting to get a little bit cleaner of a problem. Now again, I have my multiplication division step, whichever comes first from left to right, and I only see this division step down here. So I go ahead and take care of my division on the bottom. So I have 12 minus 4 on top. So I go ahead and write that down. And then 6 plus 16 divided by 4. I want to go ahead and evaluate 16 divided by 4. Leave the rest as it is. And 16 divided by 4 is just 4. And then what I have is I have 12 minus 4 on top. Again, I took care of multiplication and division. Addition, subtraction, left to right. So I have 12 minus 4, which is then 8. 6 plus 4 is then 10. And this is where I pointed out where you evaluate the top and the bottom separately, and then I divide them out to be 4 over 5, or if I specify that you want them in decimals, you would put it in 0.8. That's how to do one example. Let's do another. Okay, so here is example 2. This looks a little bit different. There's no fraction bar, so let's go ahead and go through it. Again, remember to write down your P, E, M, D, A, S. Remember that these two go together, these two go together. So what I need to do is I need to look at parentheses. What is in parentheses? Well, I look at this, and I take care of those. 4 divided by 2 is 2, plus 4 times whatever 5 minus 2 is, which is 3 squared. It's already pretty simple just by taking care of parentheses in this one. Secondly, I look at my exponents. I only see this 3 squared, so I go 2 plus 4 times the quantity 3 squared, which is 9. That takes care of exponents. Let's look at multiplication division from left to right. I want you to notice something. If you were to add 2 and 4 together, right here, and you would get 6, and 6 times 9 would then be 54. That would make the problem totally different and actually wrong than what it's about to be if we do it correctly, which is 4 times 9, because that's our multiplication division first, is 36, and then I simply add those two together. That gives you 38. See how that's much, much different than 54? There are not two correct answers. Okay, this is a big problem, but I am going to go kind of fast on it because you guys can rewind the video if you need to. I look at my PE, MD, AS. Remember that MD go together, AS go together, whichever comes first from left to right. And I need to look at, first of all, where are my parentheses? I have one big grouping of parentheses here, but I also have this smaller grouping of parentheses first. And what I need to do is take care of the smaller one first. So I need to drop everything else down. So 5 minus, I leave my bigger, they call them brackets, there, and I take care of 6 divided by 3 is 2. Right here. This used to be that little 6 divided by 3 up top. And then I have minus 2 all over, leave the rest there because I want to make sure I honor my PEMDAS. And I have taken care of the innermost parentheses. Now again, I still need to take care of this bigger parentheses. And by using PEMDAS inside that, I take care of multiplication first, this 3 times 2. So I have 3 times 2 is 6. This becomes 6. This becomes 6, multiplication first. Then 6 minus 2 then becomes 4. So 6 minus 2 becomes 4 on the inside. I simply just did a couple steps together. Everything else becomes the same or stays the same. And I get all that. That takes care of all of my operations within parentheses. Now my next step is exponents. You guessed it. Leave the top there because there's really nothing to do. 5 squared on bottom, that's an exponent. 4 squared on bottom, that's also an exponent. Divided by 2. Exponents are taken care of. It already looks much better. I then go through my multiplication and division step, and I only see that 16 divided by 2, not negative 16 divided by 2, just 16 divided by 2. Make it easy on yourself. Becomes 5 minus 4 on top, 25 minus 8 on bottom. Let me give myself a little bit of room here. So I then have 5 minus 4 over 25 minus 8. Then I do my subtraction, add, subtract on top and bottom. So 5 minus 4 is 1 on top. 25 minus 8 is 17. That is a reduced fraction. You can also figure out what that is on your calculator. Okay, last example, I would like us to evaluate an expression when you have to plug in two different values for two different variables. So very similar idea, except for we're just plugging in 1 wherever we see A and negative 3 wherever we see B. So I need to go ahead and write my expression down, 6A plus 3B squared. Give yourself some room. And then what I need to do is I simply need to say, okay, 6 times A, but now A is 1, plus 3 times B, but now B is negative 3, and parentheses is just kind of there to protect you and from kind of making silly mistakes. So then I've got my expression, which is just like what we did before. So I'm going to go through really fast and say, okay, there's no operations in parentheses. I see an exponent up here. So I need to do 6 times 1, stay there, plus 3 times, okay, negative 3 squared is 9, minus 5. Taking care of parentheses exponents, now let's do multiplication. So I see 6 times 1 is 6, drop that down, plus 3 times 9 is 27, minus 5. Now which one do I do first? Whichever comes first between addition and subtraction from left to right. So 6 plus 27 becomes 33. And I've seen some people kind of do the this little symbol right here to kind of add them together. That becomes 33 minus 5, which then gives you 28. So now you know how to evaluate expressions when you're given the numbers and when you're given values for the variables.